Yeah, if you're playing for immediate power, then Ahri is going to be more consistent for you to use.
He's a simp.
Okay.
The thing with First Strike is that it kind of synergizes with your champion identity because the whole point of First Strike is to supplement your mid game by giving you a bigger spike at that point.
Right, okay.
Because typically you'll have an extra 1,000 gold from First Strike at maybe 25 minutes, and that's a third of an item, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I don't think I've ever gotten close to that.
Yeah. Now, the only offside is that it's a conditional rune, which means you have to be the first to engage combat. It also means that you're doing less damage than you would typically with Ahri. So if you do have a free matchup, I would recommend running Ahri just if you feel like playing for yourself. Otherwise, First Strike is obviously just going to be really good. Now, you're playing against a Diana. She has no TP. She's running Ignite Electrocute, so we already understand what her goal in this lane is, right?
Yep.
She wants to kill you. So just by looking at somebody's keystone and their summoner spells, you kind of get an idea of what they're trying to accomplish along with their champion identity. So you took Magic Resist is really, really good. But as long as we prevent dying in this matchup, we're technically winning because our champ is about scaling. If you die to Diana at all, then you're playing into her win condition, which is snowballing through her damage.
Right.
So you just want to play for your keystone, which is short trades around proccing First Strike, and just never really give her a chance to all-in you.
Okay.
Now, in terms of starting items, D-Ring's great. It gives you extra survivability, makes you a little bit harder to kill with the 70 health. D-Ring is now more valuable than C-Pod in every conceivable way, so there's really no point running C-Pod ever, unless you're running Time Warp Tonic.
Yeah, it's more like total health, right?
Yeah, because with D-Ring, you're getting 70 HP. And then the 2 potions give you 120 each, so it's 240. Plus 70, which is 310. Plus you're getting the 15 AP, you're getting the damage to minions, whereas C-Pod only gives you 300 HP, but also like the 200 mana. But that doesn't matter as much because if you're proccing Drain, you're pretty much getting more value from D-Ring anyways. It do be like that sometimes. So first thing is first, you kind of want to stand in the middle. This is just so you can get vision of people entering through the middle.
Okay.
In a standard game, the ideal scene is that somebody's watching this entrance, and so forth. That's called a 5-point. You just want to prevent your team from getting cheesed level 1, especially if you have a weaker level 1, because if you're standing right here and they do get into this bush, it could be dicey.
Okay.
Okay, so when you consider Diana, what skill do you have to play around the most in this lane?
Her Q.
100%. So Moonlight is basically her bread and butter, right? The only way she can dash.
Every one of them.
Yeah. So it's either you're playing around.
That's the only time she can dash.
Yeah, 100%. It's also her only major way of poking as well. So you identify it's a melee matchup and you start Siphon Power, which is really good because it means you can't lose trades, right? If you manage to get auto Q, auto off. You're mitigating her damage while doing damage yourself.
Got it.
If you're in a ranged matchup where you're unable to use Siphon Power, you just go and start E and take advantage of First Strike.
Okay.
So right now, you get the first auto, and then you can Q auto. So already really great, fantastic job. Now, something we need to consider here is that do we want to push the lane and hit level 2 so that we can zone her off the wave, or do we want to stabilize in the middle? That's something that comes into play when we look at jungle matchups. So this is something that's unique to control mages, but you put more emphasis on jungle tracking than assassins do. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you're trying to do is make sure that you're able to successfully scale and play through your jungler. So we take a look at the jungle matchup. It's a Hecarim versus Twitch. This is pretty much Hecarim favored, right? Unless Twitch abuses Invis mechanic.
Right.
So both junglers are starting bot side camp, which means that they're naturally gravitating towards what side of the map?
Top.
100%. So because they start red, they have to go to their second buff, which is blue or red, right?
Yep.
Now, every jungle champion has their own kind of identity when it comes to their first optimal clear. And it's just kind of like the best way for them to clear on the first time. So it could be a 3 camp, it could be a 5 camp, it could be a 6 camp. It just depends on the champion identity. So for Twitch, what kind of champion do you think he is?
3.
Alright, so he's a 3 camp because he wants to cheese early with invisibility, right? He can even do a level 2 gank if he wants. But it means that he has less emphasis on farming and more emphasis on ganking early to take advantage of that. Now, what about Hecarim?
5.
100%. So he's more of a 5 or 6 camp because he wants to hit level 6, and he wants to hit his first item, which is either Sheen or Ionian Boots. So if we know that he's doing a 5 camp, you can kind of assume that the first time you're ever really going to get ganked is going to be on the standard Scuttle timer. Now, if you're getting ganked at off a 3 camp. It could be anywhere from 230 to 345. So
Okay.
we know Scuttle spawns at 315. So if we know that this spawns at 315, that means we can get ganked before it spawns or after it spawns, after they do it. So against the 3 camp,
Gotcha.
you need to be respectful that we'll go and watch Hecarim and we'll see what time he finishes 3 camps so you have a general idea. Now obviously different champions have different speeds, but we see that Twitch does an immediate level 2. So at this point, there's no longer a point. But
Right.
typically, a 3 camp, it would take around 230 to 245, and then they have like 30 seconds before crab spawns to gank you mid or gank a side lane. And that's the number that you need to keep track of if you're pushing early.
Okay.
If you're playing it's a 5 or 6 camp, you kind of expect them to gank around 3 minutes until 345. Because they won't finish their 5th camp until like 3 minutes, and then they'll either do crab or they'll do gromp and they'll gank you afterwards.
Okay.
So 3 camp, gank before crab, 5 or 6 camp, gank maybe after crab. That's something just to remember.
Okay.
But she hits level 2 before you, she takes W, so that's something that we have to play around. But you're kind of just trying to create a situation where you force her to queue either you or the minion wave. Because if you stand here and she queues you, she can't hit the minion wave. If she queues the
Okay.
minion wave, then she can't queue you. So
Got it.
part of that is you want to hard push the wave level 1 so that you can hit level 2 before her. But you see the
Okay.
issue is that she's just right-clicking and you're not really punishing her for doing so.
Okay.
So, for example, she has an 8-second cooldown on Q. Do we need to be pathing away from her right now?
No.
So this position doesn't enable you to capitalize on the mistake that she's making, which is she's far overextended without the ability to trade back. So we'll go and watch for the next 8 seconds, but we'll see, are you really applying pressure?
No.
Not really. So something that we could have changed with our positioning after this Q is the moment we identify that this skill is used, we know for a fact that there's no way she hits us back from this point onwards.
Right. Okay.
Now, you could at any point in the day, you could go on a website like LLStylish or Fandom, and you could be like, what is the cooldown on a skill? And that way you know concrete how many times you have to work with, 8 seconds. But you hit her, but what are you doing incorrectly here?
Just backing off.
So you're creating space for her to farm safely, like you said. Whereas you could continue to hold your position kind of in the middle here. And just by holding this position, you're creating a situation where you have more opportunities. Because the difference between standing here is that this is your effective range, right? This is like the maximum amount of space that you can influence. But if I'm standing here, she's not able to walk through you to the minion wave. So
Okay.
there's a very big difference between standing here where you're not able to hit her and standing here where she can't even walk up to begin with.
Okay.
Now you are taking a little bit of minions, but it's all good. But your Q comes up around the same time. But because she's consistently autoing, she just hits level 2 first. Now, once again, we see that she's used Q. Is this an opportunity?
Yep.
100%. Alright, so good use. You don't have to commit if it's going to put you in harm's way. So once again, she's used Q, so you can go up for the auto. And this is kind of the first 3 steps of trading. There's 3 steps of trading. The first one is positioning. So the reason why positioning is the #1 tip when it comes to trading is because this is what enables you to take advantage of mistakes or to defend yourself from your own mistakes. Because if I'm standing here and she goes up to last hit a minion, can you take advantage of it?
No.
No, so you have to be constantly jostling back and forth based on when you're stronger or weaker. Every time somebody uses a skill, you're either stronger or you're weaker. If somebody uses fear like Vex, then you know for that next 25 seconds that you're stronger than her if she doesn't get fear proc. The second one being last hit windows. So every single time a minion's about to die, do you think that's a telegraphed movement from the enemy?
Yeah.
Because we know this is going to die, so what does she need to do to get this minion?
Walk up and auto it.
So she has to walk up and auto it, or she has to Q, right? She no longer has Q, so what is her only way to kill this minion?
Just auto.
So how do we stand in a position that allows us to capitalize on that? If I know for a fact that she's walking to this minion, should I be standing more aggressively? Should I be standing defensively? What position allows me to put pressure on her and make it harder for her to last hit? The goal here,
Aggressive.
100%, we want to play aggressively. The goal is... I forgot to put my music on, hold on. I just immediately realized like I can't work in this function. So you're trying to create a situation where it's a 50-50. The 50-50 here being that you either get damage for free, or she trades back and loses the minion. So the unique thing about this 50-50 is that both of those are wins, right? It's a win-win.
Right, okay.
So just by positioning in a specific way, you've created a situation where you can only succeed. So that is what positioning does in all aspects of this game. It's about creating a situation where your team succeeds and has pretty much no losing option. And that's something that comes into play often with stuff like Dragon, is that if you force Dragon and they fight it and they lose, they're doomed, right? But if they don't fight it, they lose Dragon. So when your team's ahead and you have the ability to force objective team fights like this, it's pretty much always worth doing if your team is an early skirmish composition. But people don't seem to understand that. They think Dragon's a waste of time. Instead of getting a situation where they can instantly win the game, they just continue farming and they don't do anything with it. So here, another good auto. You know she goes up for this minion 100%, so... But you see how far away we're running from her right now, even though she has no Q? Because if you auto-Q her, you're getting first strike and you're getting 120 damage in.
Gotcha.
And versus melee matchups, the number one thing that kind of limits their ability to play aggressively is their health. So in every single melee matchup, your goal is to chip them as low as possible so that they don't feel comfortable playing. If they make it successfully through level 1 for 3 without burning any potions or getting damaged, and they all in you, you're the one who's playing from behind now. Basically, yeah. Now, at the end of the day, like, you don't have to confront them where they're strong. You can legit AFK farm as Victor and technically succeed, but there's no reason why you should play incorrectly when you can play correctly.
Yep.
And that's an issue that a lot of players struggle with in lower elos, is they play too passive because they just think that getting to that point is considered a win. And in some matchups, that is considered a win. But when you have the ability to influence or impact the game and you choose not to do it, you're kind of limiting your own ability to succeed for no reason. So I'm always going to encourage people to play correctly, to take advantage of mistakes when they're presented, because if you allow those opportunities to go by, you're really not playing the game. You're just existing.
Yep.
So, if you want to, you can auto the wave more, and you can hit level 2 before her so that you can apply pressure of your skill advantage. But she's kind of got your number in that regard because you're afraid to walk up. And at this point, she still doesn't have access to dash. She goes ahead and opts for W for the extra defensive stats. But she's got no Q right now, right?
Yep.
She has no way of refreshing her dash, so there's a free chance to auto Q auto. But once again, your default interaction here is you walk away.
Yeah, just super scared. Yeah.
So this is autopiloting, because if you have confidence, confidence is based on the idea that what you're doing is correct. It's based on the information that you're gathering and how you're using it. So if you're not confident in the situation, what is the reason behind it? It's because you're not identifying these key factors in the lane, which is she using her skills? Is she vulnerable? Does she have a way to continue to play? She has none of these options currently. So you're afraid because you just don't understand what's happening.
Right.
Once we put in purpose or intent behind why we're trading or what she can do to punish you, you start to realize, oh, she can't really do anything at all, can she?
Right.
And you ever watch any of my YouTube videos, and I play against mostly melees on Vex and stuff like that, it's always just me playing very aggressively every single time somebody uses a skill and has no way of following up.
Got it.
Because that's how you punish melees. And now this game is a little bit topsy-turvy because you got the 2v1 trade bot side, but it's still 100% winnable because you guys have a pretty decent frontline draft. Hecarim is really annoying to deal with as a control mage. He's probably one of the hardest lanes to deal with for junglers because he just bypasses your front line.
Right.
Alright, so this is a really good neutral line right here. So wherever your minion wave kind of equalizes out, this is kind of like the minion line. Is this good for us or bad? So let's think about this.
It's good because she has to like come up to CS.
Okay, so that is one of the good reasons, right? So she's forced to move forward to last hit, which means that she has to enter your range, right?
Yep.
So if I'm standing aggressively here, she can't really feel confident knowing that the tower is close by. So that limits her options and allows you to play more aggressively. But every time she walks up, is she even farther away from the safety of her tower?
Yes.
which now means she has to respect what?
A gank.
A gank. So just by holding the wave right here, you're kind of creating a situation where you can only succeed, which is another reason behind positioning, right?
Yep.
So we create a position that we can succeed in, which is either our jungler can gank easily, we can farm easily, we can deny ganks. Because can Hecarim gank us from right here? With the way that we're currently standing? Of course not.
Nope.
So this positioning currently is fantastic. So the idea here is to hold this position as long as possible. And how do we do that?
Just last hit. Like
just last hit, yeah. Now, when we slow push, that does mean the wave is gradually pushing towards her, right?
Yep.
So it does mean eventually we might get ganked during this action. It doesn't happen very often in low elos because junglers can't identify this. But as long as you are slow pushing, you're safe for this entire period of time.
Okay, got it.
So if you're going to push your wave eventually, that's when you go ahead and put the ward down before you like commit all the way.
Okay, understood.
So right now, we're autoing a little bit. It's all good. But once again, she's walking up to you. She has no dash. What is the hesitance here to punish her?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I just play too scared. Like, I don't understand when she has abilities. Like, I don't know. I didn't like get the timers on it, you know? Like, when she doesn't have Q, I can be more aggressive. She's melee. I don't know why I'm walking away. Like,
so going into the next game that you play, what is something that we could change to maybe keep that a little bit more focused?
Just
what do you need to do personally to like go through this?
Just understand the champions more, I guess.
Okay,
like,
so that's one of them.
Yeah. Just work, like, not autopilot position to, like, move backwards constantly.
And that comes down to thinking proactively, right?
Right.
As long as you're playing with intent or purpose and you understand why you're playing your lane. Because at the end of the day, as long as we go even, we technically win, right? Because we're scaling.
Yep.
So if we play purely for wave control and make it easy for Twitch to gank, is that our easiest way to win this lane?
Seems like it, yeah.
100%. Because there's no way you ever push here and don't die to Hecarim from behind.
Right.
So if you understand what you're trying to accomplish in your lane when it comes to your personal win condition, it makes it easier to segue that or transition it towards your team's win condition. What do I need to do to succeed in my lane phase and to enable my teammates? And what do we need to do as a team to win?
Okay. So basically just like formulating a game plan.
Exactly, from the beginning based on the draft. But if you go in the lane and you don't consider any of this, you're autopiloting because you didn't consider any of the factors that go into this matchup or what you need to do to succeed. You, from this point onwards, are playing reactively, which means that you're letting them control the pace of the game or the flow.
Definitely.
And, which means if they're controlling it, are they the ones creating situations or you?
I mean, they're creating the situation.
They're creating it, so it's a little bit harder for us to control it. Now, the reason why I want you to play more aggressively, even if you can't kill her, is because what happens if she's at 40% HP as opposed to 100? Does that make it easier for Twitch to commit to going mid lane?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And you do have TP, so even if you burn through all your mana, you can always come back.
Right.
But as long as she stays topped off at full HP, doesn't get punished for a single one of these minion last hits, she's going even in a melee matchup, which means she's out farming you for free. But she's also not really risking any like repercussions as a result of it.
Got it.
So once again, this is another thing you can apply technically. This is called minion sequencing. This is just the order in which minions die. You can kind of just go back and forth on what minion needs to be defended or which minion needs to be aggressive. Because, for example, if I know this minion dies first, I position a way to zone her off of it, force her to move through me. I know this minion dies next, which means I need to make space so I can farm safely without getting last hit. Because if I'm applying the same thing, she can do the same thing to me, right? If this is like a range versus ranged.
Got it.
So when I'm going for last hit, I want to put myself in the same position, a safe position, to not get punished.
My god,
so I can either make space, or I can walk up and get traded on, go for the minion. But this sequence just helps me keeping track with, do I need to be... How can I play my movement here?
Okay.
He goes for the Q, so at this point, it's not bad. You don't need to auto here, right? Because this line's really good for us.
Yeah, yep.
Twitch does red buff, he can definitely go mid afterwards. But good trade, you knew her Q was down. So you just used both your cooldowns, right?
Yes.
So if you extend the trade, let's say you've done 150 damage as you just did. How much damage did she do in return?
0.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically we extend this trade and we go for another auto, and she jumps into you. So let's say you get one more auto and you do 190 damage total, and she jumps back into you and does 150. Which one of these is more favorable?
The first one.
The first one.
0. Yeah.
So this is something that, again, low elo players struggle with, is that they over-engage. They do their full combination, and then they give the opponent a chance to do damage back. Now, she didn't take E third because she put a second point in Q, but when you walk up right here, you are 100% giving her a chance to deal damage back even if she has low mana. And that's something that we want to keep tabs on, is it worth going for the extended trade or not? Now,
yeah, I'm not really getting anything because I'm just going to do like a couple autos because all my stuff's on cooldown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if this were Vex, this would actually be okay. This isn't a great number by any means, but at the end of the day, what is Vex's champion identity?
Like basically assassin.
She's an assassin, so her biggest strength is that she has really big kill windows. She can kill you faster than you can kill her.
Right.
So if we're equal HP, 300 versus 300, who has the advantage?
The Vex.
The Vex.
Assassin. Yeah.
So she can trade equally knowing that she has a bigger window to take advantage of, whereas you can't because you're playing a control mage that's based on poke. So your entire identity in lane is to get chip damage in and get them low enough to extend a combo off of your ultimate, whereas her identity is to all in, right? Electrocute Ignite. So if you trade equally, 300 for 300, eventually it comes out on Diana on top, unless you TP back, which is something you could definitely do. But lane still equalized. You've been doing a great job on equalizing the lane. I don't know if it's intentional, but you have been doing it, so it's good.
No, I'm pretty sure it's mostly out of fear.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, you aren't getting killed or anything like that, so... Another thing is, you kind of just want to try to proc your first strike as much as you can, so... Playing around that. So, she just used Q and W, and you could afford to play a little bit more aggressive if you're positioning like that.
Definitely. Okay.
I'm probably going to stop remarking on it, just because I think you get the point now. Apologies.
Yes. No, it's okay.
Okay, so you could technically tank the minion wave here if you want to hold it right here. It's completely up to you. So something you'd see most mid laners do is they grab the wave and then they run to the side.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if she recalls here, she's getting full HP, full mana, and she spends her money, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what she's trying to do. If you want to go back, you can do it. But what is this wave right now?
It's basically going to neutralize in the center, right?
Yeah, so this is neutralized, so you could technically recall here as well if you want to, or you could hard push this. We gotta go back a wave though, but the next wave is a cannon wave. So if you push on cannon wave, you lose absolutely nothing. So she stays. If she recalled, you could have taken this wave and then she would lose the cannon, because it would slow push back. So this is pretty much the only way she equalizes here. Okay, go and watch that back again. So you stop her recall. All things considered, you're in a pretty healthy position. Like, you're down 4 CS, which isn't technically correct here, because you are range versus melee.
Okay.
You could afford to use your E for the first strike proc, because you also have mana flow bans, so you get a refund.
Right, okay.
And then you walk back in. So, like, look at this objectively. So the moment she hits you with this Q, are there any minions dying right now?
No.
So is there any reason to walk into her range when there's nothing worth fighting over?
No.
No. So you're positioning in a way...
I basically gave her the free E.
Yeah, so you gave her the free E for nothing. Because at the end of the day, this position doesn't matter. You can afford to walk away here and wait until the Q runs off before you go back in. But when you play aggressively, when you are playing into her timer, you're allowing her to do this. Because now, she can QE ignite you from this point.
Yep.
Now, her mana is a little bit low, but she definitely could burn your flash as a result of this. So, just off of that one negative trait alone, and the fact that you're going melee range right now, it's kind of sketch. Because I could 100% see you dying right now. So, Q does 118, E does 65, so let's say hypothetically she does 140. and then every auto does 40, so 180 plus 130. She does 310 damage right now. You have 336 HP. She would need to mix in like one auto to kill you from this state.
Right. Okay.
Or she'd have to Moon Silver Blade for the extra 52. Now she's just as scared, but you see how you holding this line
allowed Switch to come up.
Yeah. So if you burn the Diana Flash here, it's pretty much the best thing that could have happened for you. Okay, perfect. So another option here is you could have held the wave, recall TP'd, but I think just farming this is fine. We take a look at your money. You have 616. Like, what can you buy in your reset right now?
Nothing great. Like maybe boots and
a
like
Dark Seal.
Yeah, Dark Seal.
So you could also do Amp Tome and Refillable, all good options. But if we stay and we take this wave, 1, 2, so average wave is worth 120, not including cannon. So this is 200 gold right here. So if you farm this entire wave, you'd have 850.
Yeah.
And that would give you the option to buy boots and Amp Tome and a potion if you want. So this depends on how you want to play it. If you're afraid of getting ganked here, I would just reset and TP back for your standard items. Or you can fully farm this wave out, and then you can come back with a better item purchase. But if I ever saw Diana walking up at this HP threshold, I would be, I'd be scared
I'm about
personally.
to die. Yeah, okay.
Because if you get tower dived here, you do actually just die.
Yep.
Okay, good E. That's the most aggressive E I've seen you cast so far, so well played. But keep in mind here, what happens if you just recall and TP? Do you automatically win?
Yes.
Because if you come back with full HP, full mana, and an item, and
Yep.
she can't recall, she just dies, or if she does recall, she loses an entire minion wave.
This is a wave, yeah.
So that's something that you should pretty much always be thinking about when it comes to TP. People are too afraid to use TP when it just automatically resolves any like losing matchup.
Yeah.
This is a prime usage of when TP would be fantastic.
Okay.
So at this point, you TP no matter what to catch the wave. You have to do this for the XP. And you come back with Amp Tome Dark Seal. So not a bad recall. Not bad at all. Against melees, I like to go boots early just for help against positioning. If I make
That
mistakes.
makes sense. Okay.
It's personal preference though. If you're like hard winning and you want to go full AP, you can. But when you're playing from like behind like this, I would value boots probably a little bit more. Because the only way she kills you is if she lands Q, right? Which means she has to get in range to cast it. So boots just helps with that. Oof. Okay, so she just recalled. You know that. What do we want to do here?
I'm actually not sure because if I hard shove this, then but it seems like she'll get back in time to just catch the wave.
Okay, so you 100% can push this in time.
Okay, okay.
Well, let's go back and see if you have enough information. So it takes 8 seconds to recall, and then she has to run 15 seconds back. So if you're casting your skills on cooldown, you 100% push this in.
Okay.
So the benefit of doing so is that she loses a minion wave because it dies a tower, and then the wave bounces back to you, and then you can reset up a freeze for your Twitch because there's no flash. So the idea is anytime you burn somebody's flash, just hold the wave over here and they lose.
Right, okay.
Because they're walking up no flash, they die to any gank from your support or your jungler. If you have the ability to tower dive, then you can play aggressively like this, but when you're playing a control mage, the only thing that pushing really accomplishes here, besides getting infinite poke damage under tower, is dying to the enemy jungler support.
Okay.
So it's a risk worth taking if you have the proper vision to play aggressively, but it's almost always worth it to hold the wave here and just zone them off entirely.
Got it, okay.
Now, this position is good because it allows you to go for roams, it allows you to help your teammates, but that's dependent on where your teammates' lanes are, like position-wise, and your champion. So like Victor, does he really roam?
No.
Not really. So you don't need this priority. The only thing you're putting yourself is at risk. Now, you're not able to roam easily from this position, so if your laner roams, you have to punish them. But you are creating a situation where they can die to ganks, and that's like your biggest strength, is forcing them to respect the 2v1.
Okay.
So because you slow push this, does she get this entire wave for free anyways?
Yep, she does.
Okay, so she basically loses nothing. Once again, good laser. So this is pretty much what Victor's about. Like, once you get Death Ray, you just spam the ever-living shit out of it.
Right.
Every time you land Death Ray, it's just 20 gold. Is this an illegal play right here?
Super.
Okay, so let's go back and analyze this situation. So, step 1. We Death Ray, right?
Yep.
So we pop Bone Plating, which is good, because it's a 45-second cooldown that we can play around. But the only skill that we have left is Siphon Power. So we effectively have 1 damaging skill and 1 CC skill. How many skills does Diana currently have?
2.
2. But this is a shorter cooldown, so it's going to come up pretty soon.
Back. Yeah.
So she has 3 technically, and then because it's a reset, she has 4. So this is 4 damaging skills versus 1. Who wins this?
She does, 100%.
100%. So just by walking in when your E is on cooldown and going melee range,
That's griefing.
it's 100% griefing. Because you can auto the minion from here to here. You don't need to enter her range to auto the minion. So the only thing I can consider here is you're trying to Q her when you're down an entire skill.
Right.
So that's either improper autoing, but you just lost 300 HP for free.
Yep.
Now, 100% you should have lasered here so that you're trading damage back because you had already lost a trade. And then you miss it. So she's got 2 potions. You have no refillable. So she's winning in terms of sustain. So this is just really bad for you trade-wise.
Yeah.
But once again, what are you doing, my king?
Keeping it where it should be.
Yeah, so this is great. You've done a really great job with this. Now, the thing is, you want to make sure you're doing it intentionally. So
Yeah,
if it's a product of
sure.
playing passively, you're not going to take advantage of it as much as you should have, which happened earlier.
It absolutely is that, yeah.
But if we are doing this consciously, and we're thinking about why we want to accomplish this state and when, it makes it easier to play around it. Because if I'm doing this consciously, and I know for a fact that I'm creating a winning situation, at any given moment, I can ping, hey, this is a free gank, or I can play aggressively on the wave knowing she can't tower dive me, or I can play aggressively knowing I won't be dived. But that's only if you recognize that this is on purpose, or that this is a winning position.
Yep.
If
Understood.
you're just playing afraid, or you're playing passively, or you're scared, you're not going to take full advantage of this position that you've crafted for yourself. And that's all. So she tower dives you. Really great turnaround. I'm going to watch that again. So you know she has no flash, right? You know for a fact she has no flash. So if she tower dives you ever right here, this is an immediate W.
Okay. Yeah.
So no use of the W here means that she's not forced to stay in range of your ult.
Right. I probably could have killed her if I W'd first. Yeah.
Now, there's an argument here to be made that if you cast W, that she just ignite ults you, but you have flash, so that's the only reason why I'm fine with you just stunning her under tower. So it'd be, you could RW, you could WR. I just think it had to be that specific order if you wanted to kill her here.
Okay.
And now, are we staying in lane when it's slow pushing to her?
Yeah, this is...
I'm really proud of you.
dangerous,
I'm very proud of you for making this decision.
I actually think I canceled this because I wanted Lost Chapter.
Okay.
It's bad.
Because if you die here, you lose 300 gold to her.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
You lose 120 gold because the minion wave. And then you also lose 120 gold because you're not farming her wave. So this is a 600 gold swing if you die for literally no reason. So if you walk up here and she ERs you off the minion, so she can Q the minion, E to the minion, and then she can E to you, and then R ignite. And that's something you'll see in every single high elo Diana game. You might not be good enough to do it, but if you're not playing around it, then very likely you just die. Also, you could get Hecarim ganked at this point. So, she E's to the minion. And then because she gets the ult off the E, there's no way for you to flash it because she can just reset her E onto you. So
Right, okay.
you pretty much instantly lost the moment that happened. So, we look at the gold graph, 2.1 to 2.3. We go back 15 seconds. You were winning.
Yeah.
But just because you made a
Greedy
decision,
yeah.
you played into her what?
Her win condition.
Her win condition, exactly. So, what is our win condition this lane again?
Basically denying her snowballing.
Exactly, so we want to deny her CS, deny her kills. And as long as we accomplish that, she doesn't hit her spike as fast as she could, right, as an assassin.
Yep.
When you're playing versus assassins, it's all about denying them resources to make it take longer for them to get their item spikes to one-shot you. But the moment you die like this, she comes back to lane with a Hextech alternator, and then every single combo is a killable combo. So this is unfortunately a situation that is completely avoidable, and even if you leave here, what do you lose?
Yeah, just like a small wave.
You lose one wave, which isn't bad. It's not bad to lose one wave if it saves you 600 gold swing.
Right.
Because even now, do I need to walk this close to right-click this minion? That's just a positioning thing, right?
No, yeah, it's terrible. Especially since she has the Q thing on
Yeah.
the minions.
So the wave's already slow pushing to you, so you can just max range. If you want to stand over here and E, you can do that. But you're going melee range into the dash, and you're just allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is our first avoidable play, per se. I mean, we've had other avoidables, but like the monumental one.
Right.
Because now she comes back to lane. 100% she's got... Let's see how much AP she's going to have after this reset. So she's currently at 75. She went tier 2 boots, so she actually just fucks you. Okay. I was thinking, if she went alternator, it's not bad because it's 25 AP, but it gives her like 100 damage on skill hit, the unique active. So her full combo right now probably does like 1.1k damage. You know how much HP you have? 1.2.
Yeah. Not great.
And that's not even including like Igniter or any of her passive procs. It's just straight raw swing damage. But you come back to lane.
Through the lane with
100%, 100%.
Terrible play. Okay.
You gave her the tools to succeed. And that's what we're trying to identify here. How do we avoid giving people control? So you come back, get a wave. Going back for Lost Shepherd, I don't mind this. Now, if she does push this wave in, you lose a plate, and she also denies you 6 minions. So it's kind of a bad recall because it's not on a cannon wave. And even if it were cannon wave, it's no longer like 3 minutes in the game. She can pretty much one-shot that with her build.
Right, okay.
The only saving grace is that the cannon will absorb 8 tower shots.
Okay.
So that would buy you time. But right now, she gets 160 gold.
Plate. Yeah.
She gets 320 gold. She got basically a kill's worth of gold from that tower. So it's all connected, right? Like laning phase from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. It's all connected. And that's why it's so important to play lane consistently, even on control mages. Because you just want to make sure you're setting yourself up for success. So when I see people play assassins, and they make losing plays and set them high at like level 1 and they can't play the game, I just think, why would you do that?
Right.
But
Makes
similarly,
sense.
like if you're playing control mage and your goal is to survive and hit item spikes, you gotta be very careful with how you're playing.
That makes sense.
Once again, at this point, you kind of just have to force this position. It's the only way that you get to play the game. Is if she freezes you out and you die to Hecarim gank, or she all-ins you. It's pretty hard. Now, this does mean that they have pretty much really good control over these objectives. But this is a gank that comes in, so you want to... you just want to bait this here. So walking up right now is perfect. If you wait for Twitch to engage, you're giving her the option to walk away here. But if you force her into Eing into you, how much farther does she have to walk versus this?
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense.
Okay, so you don't have anything to cast yet. This is very awkward.
Yeah. It's like, it's,
But where did we just see them do Rift Herald? Did they get the...
They just did Herald?
Yeah, so they just did Herald. You're forced to push this in because you're getting frozen off, but how many wards do we have? We have 1 ward, so you could have warded first if you wanted to go for this slow push. But with the moment you walk up right after Rift Herald gets killed and you know that he's in the area, this is your second major mistake. What is the sin we just committed?
I basically wasted my flash because I was dead anyway.
Okay, so the result of losing your flash here is that for the next 5 minutes...
I'm dead next time too.
Yeah. So you just gotta accept that the moment you made this positioning mistake, that it was done. Yeah. There's no way you outplay this by flashing, so now you're in a situation where you have to play passively. if you have flash, you can play a little bit more like versatile. You can play a little bit more aggressive because you have an escape card. But now you're pretty much forced to play right here for the next 5 minutes.
Got it.
But once again, another 300 gold going over. You're losing another minion wave, so it's another 600 gold swing. And it's just purely because you're not focused. So in a world, I could see you being tilted that you guys didn't get that kill off the Twitch ult. It's kind of like WTF. Like,
yeah, but that's not an excuse to...
Yeah. 100% right. There's no justification. And then here's the worst part here. Is they take tower, so it's another 2 plates. And then First Blood Tower is another 400. So...
Yeah, she's massive. Way far ahead of where she should be.
So 400 plus 3 plates, 360, plus kill, plus minion wave. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is essentially
GG.
1.18k gold and a matchup that's very hard for you to survive if she gets distance control. So we look at the gold, it's 2.8 versus pretty much going to be 4.4 after this tower. That's really hard to overcome, right? That's an entire rod, it's pretty much an entire item, honestly.
Yep.
So, realistically speaking, I could go for the next 45 minutes. I don't think it's a great use of your time. I think that this 10 minutes showed us a lot on what you can improve on.
Definitely.
And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go into a custom game, and I'm going to have you practice taking advantage of those positioning windows. And then from there, we'll go into a live spectate.